All right, all right, all right. So this is my first time using StreamYard. So we're gonna rock with this. I think I'm gonna get the upgraded version. Oh, I'm gonna have to call you back, babe. Later. All right, later with the smiley face. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start with you guys. There's gonna be usually people on YouTube and Twitter will show up, but for right now, let me just check. Is Twitter, YouTube happening? Just to make sure that the stream is working. Okay. Well, all right. Hold on, Facebook. I just have to make sure the YouTube's working. Oh, okay.
Hold on, Facebook.
Okay.
I just have to make sure the YouTube's working.
Okay, good. It is. All right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start. So, you guys might know me from my real estate investing platform. This is more on the spirituality side. Okay, and we're going to be talking about divine feminine and what's missing in all these femininity channels that are out there because they're not going deep enough to what really has been causing a lot of the issues and functions, dysfunction in our communities. And it's the Black community, especially, but it's other communities as well who have seen this and who can resonate with this. So, my name is Lisa Phillips. In another life, I am a real estate investor. I have a real estate investing platform, best-selling book. I have a Times.com article coming out with me in early February, and a Newsweek article about my story coming out as well. So definitely gaining momentum, but that's after 7 years. But what happened was in about 2016, 2017, with the passive income I created and the lifestyle freedom, I have gone deeper into my spiritual practice and I found out who I truly was. This physical body is Lisa, but within the DNA, activated within my DNA, is the blueprint of all the past lives that I have held, that my ancestors have held. Now you might know me as an angelic channeler, ancestral channeler. I channel my ancestors, I channel angels. I also channel other beings. In the spiritual realm. So it's funny, you come to my house, there's all sorts of things happen, and I'm like, dude, just ignore it. Like, my friends are okay. They're used to it. They know that it's all light beings. Like, I only deal with high integrity people and high integrity spiritual beings. And so I channel angels. I can tap in and tune into the other side. Am I special? No, all of you can do it. I literally taught a workshop on introduction to channeling. You can go to mysoulpoweredlife.com to look it up. If you're watching on any of my social media, smash that like button. And I love saying that. And yeah, so is what I do special? Yes, I have access to higher guidance. I can ask my angel guides. I can ask my higher self. I'm going to do a healing with, the spirit, as Jesus later on tonight. Like, you can call these angels forward to heal with. And I was recently working with a lady and working with her son who has autism, who had delayed speech impediments. And I just received an email after about a week of working with them showing that because of this angelic healing, now full sentences are being said, whereas before it was only one or two. So gonna do a testimonial video on that because I'm really excited because people are so nervous about the spiritual aspect of this. They don't give it a shot. So it's nice to see people who are open to it and people with like pretty severe like issues with, children working with angelic energy and seeing progress after just 1 week. And that just because of me deepening my skills and ability. So I'm just saying all that so you know that there are multidimensional aspects to who I am that are just as important at the soul level, my soul, and I do give this information out at the soul level in all of my past lives that I've seen and witnessed and had visions of. I am a magician, I am a warrior, I am a teacher, and I am a healer. So they're the 4 things that I do, and I do it well because that's part of my soul imprint and it's part of my soul tribe because I've met people from my soul planet. They also have the same thing. And I know for Facebook, this might be a little too much for you because you're not used to people being this open about it, but this is real. And if you don't want to go into spiritual topics, I would log off because I'm just going to go deeper and I don't really hold back on what's going on. So in my past lives, I've been initiated, and pretty much the ones that I've seen and spoken about and known are Norse high priestess, past life Mayan priestess of shaman. That's what they called me at that time. I've tapped into that sacred knowledge through working with my ancestors and the archangels. I've tapped into my knowledge of the Norse practice that I took in. I think it's called cedar. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but also in the Merlinite path. Maybe that's why I always like fantasy novels. That is real in a past life. That's in my genes. And so I'm always talking about on my Facebook page or whatever about genetics. Don't let people alter your genetics, because in this life, I didn't have to do any of it because I did it in past life. All I did was work with my angels and ancestors to activate that and tap into it. And so what this is about is that's how basically a very short version of how I got to this path, just finding out what my purpose, what my mission is, who I am at the soul level, embracing that, embodying that, and that helping me to manifest the life that I want and I love. So I am enjoying life. I know 2020 was crazy. Best year of my life. Best year of my life. So, and it's going to continue to be, because I am from that place of, oh, the world is this, to I create my world. I manifest my world. I do in my world what I need to do. My vibration attracts my vibration. And a very close friend of mine likes to say, your attitude creates your altitude. So however you want to do it, that is the level that I'm on right now. And so the last couple of years, so December 21st, 2020 came, and all of a sudden, I got introduced to Sophia. Holy Sophia is what I call her. That's like the divine feminine counterpart to God. So we live in a dual world. There is not just God. There's God and the female equivalent. And December 21st, it was interesting. I was like introduced, I channeled, I did some healings, I met her, and I received multiple messages. And the multiple messages that this is the year of the divine feminine and what that means. So what does that mean? So we really are going into details about that. And if you guys are here and this is a subject that's interesting to you, thumbs up, give me some hearts, something, so I know that you're engaged with this content, if you're still here. So December 21st, 2020, there's a lot of things that happened. Yes, we received upgrades. Some of us received way more than others. I received quite a lot on all of my channeling skills and abilities. So did you, to a different degree. It just depends on how cleansed your field was and how accessible and what does it say? How cleansed your energy was to be able to accept as much of the integration. So if you've been doing a lot of healing work, you accepted more, but also the divine feminines, like I am here, Sophia's here. And all of you guys are going to notice such a huge movement in femininity and whatnot. You don't know it, or some of you guys are aware like I am, that energy is here. That female counterpart energy is here on this planet, and it's shaping us. So that's why you're seeing so much information on femininity and going back and resetting back to 0 point. And so I talk about femininity because the last couple of years, I've been working with different goddesses of love to go deeper into this practice. And so I was visited a couple of years ago by a goddess Oshun, and it was like all about the divine feminine. And so I've been working with her for the last couple of years on it. And with that, there is a huge, deep journey I had to go into. What does it mean to be into my divine feminine? And the reality is, are women in this country masculine? We absolutely are in our masculine energy, which is fine when you use it in business, but we've been taking it to our relationships. And that's why there is a level of dysfunction in our relationships. I talk about this from the spiritual aspect because I found that for me, the more I get close to spiritually, what's my purpose, what's my goal, what's our truth, the more I get back to spirit, the more aligned and absolute the path becomes. And so when I go to a lot of these femininity channels, they're talking about everything except like the spiritual aspects of the divine feminine. What does it mean to be in a feminine energy? And that goes really, really deep. To be in your feminine energy, that is more than just putting on some lipsticks and wearing a dress. That is part of the physical attractive power that is attractive to the eye, right? So that does have a place, but it is so much deeper than, it's so much more deeper than just wearing some pretty clothes. It's your energy. It is a complete retrograde, retrofit, 0 point reset of most of our energies when it comes to relationship. And today I want to talk about the warmth. If you look at my previous videos on my YouTube channel or in my Soul Powered Life or in my Facebook group, Soul Full of Healing, the other day I talked about divine feminine and Black love and how rushing this in is going to help the Black community's dysfunction to get both of us on point. The quick synopsis message I got from Sophia on that when I channeled it was, we have to love ourselves. We have to hold ourselves to a higher standard as women, because despite what the society has told us, we are the gatekeepers to new life. We are the gatekeepers of if our species is going to evolve in positively or devolve negatively. And we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard when it comes to the men and our mating relationships. And if we do that, the men who may not be doing as well physically, if they're held to a higher standard because we hold ourselves in a high standard of worth and feeling in our divine feminine, that's all we literally have to do is hold ourselves to a higher level for ourselves and what we are worth, and stick to those core boundaries and stick to our convictions. That's all we have to do. The men in our community will automatically rise, because if they can't get any unless they're at a certain level, trust and believe the only reason men do stuff is to get women. So if we do that part, if we do our part, we really do hold the power. If we get back to this place, then they hold theirs. But what is our part, right? So it's not only learning to love yourself and having a high value, because before I got into this practice, that's what I was doing. I never had trouble dating because I don't know, I had confidence. So I have confidence and I like myself, and I had high standards. Like, I'm not just going to go with anyone. So like, even without doing the divine feminine work, if you have a high self-worth and confidence, you're going to attract high self-worth, confident people to you, because you vibrate at that frequency. That is what you see. People who are at a low vibration wouldn't even, I see them, they see me, but they wouldn't even talk to me, like, unless you're at a certain caliber. But that's how I held myself, and that was my energy. So it was just like, no. But there is more that we can do, because looking back at the relationship with my ex-husband, if I would have known what I know now about this feminine energy and how to take the masculine energy out, we would not have divorced. No one would divorce. Like, you know what I mean? So that's how absolute it can be for any relationship if you go back into it. And there's a stereotype right now, like, Black women are so masculine. Western women are masculine. You want to know who isn't? Pakistani women are not masculine. They're still in the feminine energy because they're not doing all this work. And, so it's funny. The universe guru is someone that I like. I've taken coaching classes with and work, because she really goes into this. And she really comes from, she was an Indian Pakistani woman born in the US, but she would go visit. And when she was a little girl, she's learning from her Pakistani and her Indian mom about, this is what you do. You don't chase and and be warm and all this good stuff. And so she'd learn that, and then she'd come to the US and live. And she's like, she thought they were archaic. But then after a divorce and all this craziness, she found out they're the ones who actually knew how this circle of life needs to go. And she had to completely throw away the Western programming to get back into her divine feminine state. And I love listening to her, because she has that perspective where she has the Pakistani women in her, of course there's exceptions, but she's saying, in her family, like, the women are not educated. They're not working. They are stay-at-home moms, but they're completely provided for. They have men who provide for them. They live this life of ease, and they're still very much respected. So even, of course, there's abuse and whatnot, but that's everywhere. Everywhere has abuse and toxic, and there's, I was just speaking on a podcast today that I'll post here, and it was like, we talk about toxic masculinity, but this is going to be about toxic femininity, right? Like, we're two halves of a whole. And I know this is going to be hard, but both sides have parts to do. And we need to stop telling the other part what to do. And we each need to just focus on our one part. Okay. So it's funny, when she was talking about it, she's like, the Pakistani women that she's learning all these very feminine energy skills, which I just did a video called What is Feminine Energy? What's a Masculine Energy Woman? Please watch that. It was like, I can't do it on this channel. Like, it's too long. But she was like, they learned all these things. And then she got to the Indian women, and the Indian women are now more educated. They're working. They're very high successful, but they're overworking as well. And they're having these relationship issues, right? Versus the Pakistani women, not educated. And they're just flying by with the cohesive units without all the tension and the dissension. And that's one of the things I learned, that if you're in your feminine energy, there's not all this tension. So I have any comments going on? Okay, no comments. Okay. And then she'd come out west. And so she's taking all these coaching clients and all the Western women, black, white, Hispanic, all of us, all French, European, all of us are learning what it means to be in feminine energy. And it's not just look pretty. You can look pretty all you want, and you have all this tension that is not there if you really embody the divine feminine energy that we came from. So what we came from is primordially yin yang is basically what you need to picture with my hands doing this. It's all about the yin yang. It all goes back to that. And so with that, there's a way of going about it. So just quickly, for instance, I like to use this example. So when you're a woman in your feminine energy, what you're doing is different than how we normally operate. When I'm in my masculine energy for business, good, that's making lists. I got to do this. I got to make it happen. Got to hustle. I'm not sitting back and observing. I'm not waiting for things to come to me. I'm not attracting necessarily what I want. I'm not necessarily being warm. And I'm not necessarily getting in touch or sitting with my emotions. I'm being very masculine, doing none of that. But that's what men do. And that's okay in business. But everything is about balance. And so when it comes to relationships, being in your feminine energy looks completely different. You can wear the makeup, you can wear the lipstick, but you need that other element, that higher elevated element. And it's basically emotional intelligence. And what it is being in the feminine energy. Warmth is what we're going to talk about today, but I want to talk about the others because some of you guys are new and you didn't watch my other videos. So you're like, what are you talking about? So when you're exhibiting feminine energy, you are literally just being. What does that mean to be? Like you can be playful, you can be this, but you're just being. You're not sitting there plotting and analyzing. You're just being. And this actually takes practice to not try to guide the conversation to do this or control the other person. That is a female energy in her out of balance feminine energy, slightly toxic, trying to control, not just being, not taking the time. So you're less reactive. Reaction is a very masculine energy. So you have the ability, if someone says something that's either off-putting, makes you uncomfortable, rude, wrong, they're attacking you, they're trying to argue. The feminine energy, if you're embodying that and you really take to it, is being able to see that come at you. But instead of immediately reacting, which creates this type of tension, sitting with it, understanding how it makes you feel, and then responding. So going from reactionary to responding. And I have to say, over the last 2 years of me practicing this, what I got, amazingly enough, was emotional intelligence. To be able to, instead of just reacting, to sit on it, see what's going on, and then respond versus reactionary. And what I also noticed with all my relationships, dating relationships, and even with my ex-husband, instead of this, when we disagree, that doesn't happen anymore. So for like it just doesn't. Last 2 years, I haven't been arguing with anyone, and my ex-husband triggers me. So, but that's no more, because sitting in your feminine and just relaxing, there's this thing where they lob something at you, you don't agree. Instead of immediately going point, and being in that masculine, you're masculine, they're masculine, you're in your feminine. So they lob something you don't like at you, taking the time to sit. It's like, and then you're like, well, either that's okay, I'm comfortable with that, I'm uncomfortable with that, I don't like that, this scares me, it makes me nervous, I'm scared of this. And coming back with it, all of a sudden, if something happens, you're not in this fight because you're not in the masculine energy. It got lobbed at you, but you just sort of went around it, thought about it, got in control of your emotions, understanding your emotions, understanding why it made you angry, understanding why it triggered you, or why something, And what happens is that you're not fighting anymore like that. It's just not going to happen. So embodying that feminine energy, it's like something gets lobbed. That doesn't mean you're going to lob it right back. Now, of course, there's nuances to all of that, but that basically, with me going on this journey, because I wouldn't have went on this journey, but it was brought to my attention. Someone stepped forward for me, a spiritual being, saying, we need to go into this. And so doing that work with them, so I would do like a 5 to 10 minute meditation with them 3 or 4 times a week to deepen that connection. So it's easier for me to, and then I've done other work. So embodying this, it's completely night and day difference. And even if you follow me on social media, you might even notice I don't even argue with people the same way. They're like, well, you're wrong. And they come with all this emotion. So they're being very emotional, but it's lovely to be able to have the opportunity to be like, okay, Okay. Okay. So instead of me going point to point, I just don't do that anymore. I'm just like, okay, I see you're very emotional about this and I see this, but let me see if you considered this. Right. And so even with that, it's going around in here versus it being this. Like, okay, I can tell because I'm taking the time to sit back and allowing myself to see, okay, is this guy being disrespectful? Is it this? Can I respond in this way or that way? It's a high level of emotional intelligence that you learn to get. So when the men have been saying, you're too this and you're too that, you're too emotional, like they're not wrong, because if we were in our fundamental divine feminine, we would know to sit back, relax with it, and get control of our emotions before responding, right? And that's a high level. So I like to say, instead of being on that kid shit or that princess shit, you're on that queen shit when it comes to your emotional maturity. And I don't want to cuss, but like I just like saying that. So right. And so that's something. It's funny when I said you're being very, you're being in your masculine energy right now. People get really triggered. They think they look masculine. I was like, no, you look really pretty. But there is something to be called for being in your masculine energy. And if you're in your masculine energy as a woman, you're only really going to be able to be with a feminine energy guy. Someone who's just sitting back, leaning back, not doing, waiting for things to come, waiting, attracting things versus you. And those just do not work out long term, as I know from my previous relationship. Still a provider, still a protector, but very much more in the feminine energy while I was more in the masculine. So, this has been like a 2-year change. Gemini Love on YouTube says, I think most women today have a hard time being soft and warm because we're taught to be strong and independent. So I have to agree with Gemini. She's Gemini everything. I have to agree that even I was raised like that. So when I talk about this, I'm talking about a 2-year journey to remove all of the programming that we have. So you are absolutely correct. This is programming. Now, was it deliberate to keep us in dysfunction? I think so, because it's the exact opposite of what makes harmonious relationships. So I learned to be in my masculine. I learned to be very much like, I can't depend. I can't trust you. I have to do it. You can't tell me you can't do this. I have to be in control, because if I'm not in control, I might not live. I might be homeless. I might be that. I mean, it comes from a lot of fear, Gemini, of why we feel we have to be so strong, because we just lost the sense of trust, because we lost our sense of place, and our counterparts are having their own hard time too. So in that light, we took it on because we just did not trust that the other side would do it. And December 21st, 2020, with the divine feminine here, she's like, we have to hold ourselves really high. And so what does it mean to hold ourselves really high? So it's not just looking cute and being wearing a dress. Okay. If you think it's that, you're still gonna have the same issues. You're not gonna get to that higher level of understanding. Okay. So what I've been shown is that, there's things about femininity that is about not reacting. And I did a whole video on that, so I can't go into it here. The other part is warmth, like creating that warm place, where everyone wants to be. So now you're about connection and nurturing and warmth. And this is something that was relatively easy for me, but it's something you have to work out of. You have to work for warmth. And this is that warmth and how it looks for me. So how it looks for me when I've been incorporating and practicing it. And it's funny because I don't just do it with men now, I do it with men and women. And you should see the nature of all of my relationships flourishing, because I'm taking that role to go, okay, when I openly see you, regardless, I'm not trying to control you. I see you, and like you immediately, it's like every time you meet someone, you have to start with what's nice, what's wrong, acknowledging that you see them. And it's a practice. So doing this with men, doing this with women, but it's so funny because now when I talk to people, what happens when you do this is like your heart chakra starts opening up. So every time I meet someone now, like my heart's like just right open, and there's this deep connection, but it's not just mental, it's actually physical and spiritual. And you start creating this warm space. So warmth looks like every time you see them, what can you say that's warm, engaging, inviting, right? And these are all very feminine traits: warmth, engagement, inviting, because we're not supposed to do anything. We're supposed to invite people in with their energy. And it's very funny how when you're inviting and you're embodying this energy, how you're going to come up with all these ways to attract people. So like, you guys know, I'm on these dating apps and I'm like, what can I say to, like, you're like, they think they're the hunters, but when you're in your feminine, you're like, okay, what can I dangle in front of them to get them to come? But you get very good at the soft skills. And if you guys know, emotional intelligence and soft skills in any business reaches you to the top. And being in your divine feminine energy and taking your time to manage the emotions gets you there so much faster. And for you guys just joining in, you can go to the beginning because it really is important to place this in the right perspective. So, so being warm is, I see you, I feel you. And it's like, you start trying to do that with everyone you meet. What is something that's warm, that creates a warm glow, that makes them feel good, makes me feel good, shows them that I see them, not see them on the outside, but I see them because they're a person, they're a human, and they matter. And it's funny because like I'm in the service organization called The Links, and like a lady put together a meeting, and usually I'm just like, I'm on the meeting, what do we need to do? But like all of a sudden I was like, I gotta let her know it is so cool. She put this together and she wrote all these emails and she got us here and we're so busy. I gotta let her know that this is amazing and that she's a great person. Like, it's funny because what happens is that you get to a point where you have to let someone know that you see them and appreciate them, right? And it really makes everything different. So when I was in my masculine energy more so, when I was talking to my assistants, it's just like, hey, can you do this? And, out. Like, you barely speak English, because y'all know I have virtual assistants from all over the country who do not speak English. But now it's like I'm talking to my virtual assistant, and you take the time to go, how are you and your mom? I remember you were sick 6 months ago. How is it? And they're like, fine, Lisa. Oh my gosh, she's in Colombia. I love your channel and da 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 da. And like, I'm sending hearts to them. You don't have to do this. Be authentic. But the reality is, when you've been working on your healing, working on your value, working on self-love and self, when you throw that warmth out, it comes with your heart opening to those people. It's a very physical thing. People literally can feel a warm glow when you're in this energy. And it's funny because I like to mention, like, if you watch my other videos on this, when we're creating that warmth in space, you're creating your high value. It's not just looking pretty. Like, every time they come to you, instead of trying to control and do this, you're allowing them to be themselves. You're inviting them in. You're engaging them with this warmth, right? That's just lovely for anyone, not just men, but especially men, because they don't get that warmth anywhere else. Their buddies aren't like, dude, I love and appreciate that you did this for us, right? So you're doing that role. And in this society, so many women have, some women have it, and then it goes, like, the divine feminine goes deeper than just warmth. Warmth is just one aspect. That's why I have like literally 10 videos on this, okay? And they're all like an hour. So, I mean, these are really deep skills that you have to take on. So some women do have that naturally, but a lot of us don't. And we didn't learn its value for emotional intelligence and social capital. But what happens for them is, like, then all of a sudden, not only if they say something that might be off-putting, you're not reacting crazy, but when they do see you, you're acting very warm, so you're not even getting there. And then when you combine that with being in your feminine, where if they do say something, you're either uncomfortable or you like it, you're expressing that to them. They get a chance to be in their feelings with you in a soft feminine place that they just don't have anywhere else into the world. And I've been doing that and practicing and incorporating, embodying that. And I just have to tell you, like, it's magnetic. Like, men I'm not even talking to, like, if they see you, it's like an energy thing where they're like, I gotta help this girl. Like, it sparks in them this need to be a provider. Like, it sparks it in them because they feel like they can, and it's a warm space. It's very energetic in addition to your actual actions, but they work together because all of a sudden you're not getting in these arguments because that's not the energy in which you're showing up in. And I like to say I'm super masculine myself, but now the last couple of years, I've been keeping that to the business and keeping the other parts to the people I interact with. And it's funny because my businesses are still doing good, but people like me so much more now, right? Like, they're like, I don't know, I just like her. I was like, I like you. You know what I mean? So there's other different things that you do as well, but us holding ourselves to this high standards is fine. But we also have to do the work to be that warm, inviting place. Even if you're a a lesbian or gay couple, right? Like it doesn't matter. Whoever is that feminine energy who embodies that, you're creating a warm place in this world that can be so tough. Oh, thank you, Gemini. You get it. You're getting it. And Gemini said that this all started with the women's right movements in the 1960s. And just to be honest, let's be clear about this movement. That movement had a lot of benefits, but it was out of balance, right? So I wouldn't say abolish the movement. I was just said I love the fact that they made it so I can make a beautiful business, because women are great at business. And then if you know our multitasking skills and that ability, then when you add the ability, our empathy level and the ability to react with so much more warmth than other people, like we really can move a business forward, especially in the Black community. Like Black women are building more businesses than any other group of people, and it's been like that for like at least 20 years, right? Like we are going to single-handedly build up the economic future of our communities, and that has been starting, right? And so that is what the warmth. So with this the femininity talks, they miss sometimes talking about the deeper aspects and the spiritual aspects of what we came to be and how we were made to work. But I just have to be a testimony that like when you do this, like not only is it more harmonious because you don't have the tension, because I'm not being masculine energy, like it's beautiful. And so conflicts arise, but they're so much easier for you to discuss with emotional intelligence. And that's what it means to be in the divine feminine: emotional intelligence, social capital, soft skills. And that's something I always admired in other people. But it's funny that going through this journey, I now have, quite a high level of it, to not break or shout because you're screaming or yelling, and being able to handle it and being able to process my emotions before, responding versus reacting, because I'm not in that masculine energy anymore when I deal with people. So I have some other notes too. So it's funny. So even with this in the dating and relationship aspect, it's like, so even when they do things you don't like, you try to, like, it's called a stinky sandwich. I learned this from Caucasian people. So even then, like, you learn the soft skill set of like, okay, you don't like something, well, say something nice, say what you don't like, and then say what you do like, right? So you sandwich the stinky cheese sandwich in between two pieces of nice bread where you give the thing. So social skills like that help. Let me see what else. Whew, you know what? I'm gonna leave it on that today, because there's another aspect of it on the male and I'll just say this briefly because I have videos on it. I'm an alpha female in all ways, shape, and form, but I'm finding that being in the feminine, letting a man lead, has been a very interesting and fun thing, because I can relax. And it's almost at this point that when I meet a very masculine alpha male, like my shoulders immediately go back, and like I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go for the ride. And it's really fun because we are so working so hard that now that I'm in this feminine energy and embodying it, like just relaxing and letting them lead is amazing. Like I don't have to do anything. You know what I mean? Like I can let them lead and just relax. I don't have to think about my next moves. I'm just being who I am. So if that's happy, I'm happy. If it's sad, whatever, just being honoring that. You mix it in with the warmth, but like it's this beautiful place of, you can relax as a strong alpha woman and whatever. So I was dating this one guy, and I was like, do you consider me an alpha female? And he was like, you are, but not with me. Right? So I wanted to say this because letting a man lead is part of it. So the other part of it is being very good about vetting your men. And that's actually a very big part of what Sophia, the Holy Sophia, channeled to me. She's like, we have to vet our men, and we've been giving it up a little too easy, and we've been letting men who should not be procreate. All right, so I'm talking biological. So consider it like this: we are the gatekeepers to the DNA. And I got this from the Universe Guru if you want to check her out on YouTube. But what we've learned from that is that when you make sure you only get with the best male in the group, you're making sure your species evolve positively and don't degrade. And what I see now in our community is a whole bunch of, in like a chimp pack, right? Because this is really, the behavior of them is similar to the behavior of us. You have the alpha, you have the beta, The beta will sometimes take the place of the alpha or be second in command, right? But then you have like the omegas, right? And they're really good. They don't hunt, they don't command anything, but they're really good in the chimpanzee club of like playing with the other women. You know what I mean? They're men, but they're not in charge. But the thing is, in real life, in our community, too many omega men have procreated, and they're only good for other people taking care of them, right? And so we are the gatekeepers. If you have too many men of that ilk procreating, because we are not holding ourselves to the highest standards for whatever reasons. Listen, I was part of the programming that literally will cause a destruction of your species. It literally will cause a degradation because then you don't have the people you need to do it. And so and I'm laughing because like it's really true. So you know all these women who are having babies with men who don't know how to provide, and they never did because we lost this focus of only getting with the best people who can. And now we have so many men, and thankfully a lot of them are Xing themselves out the gene pool, but we had too many omega babies in our communities and too many omega males who are really good for just making women feel good but not providing or taking care of anything. Listen, go to YouTube and look at chimpanzee behavior because humans model that like in our social structure, and you can see what works and what doesn't. And so our job in the divine feminine is to be more discerning, because if we hold ourselves to high standards and we don't just let anything in, what happens is they have to rise and only the best rise to the top. That is why there's a lot of degradation, because people who in their genetics, literally in their genetics, who do not know how to provide have been proliferating versus the alpha and beta and sigma males that you want in the pack to be able to provide only. There's less of them and more of the omegas. And that is what happens. And I'm not talking about sorority. I'm talking about literally like how we classify them per the chimpanzees and watching their behavior and interaction. So sorry, I don't know. That just like to me it's just like wow, and I got that realization. So she's like, stop it. Sophia, when I channeled, she was like, no, no, and no. You have to stop, and only the best. You should hold yourself in the high value and only the best. And it's funny because all we have to do is hold ourselves in high value, hold our place as the gatekeepers to our species or to our race and whatever. All we have to do is hold that to a high value. And what will naturally happen, because men react, right? So they will naturally react to that and rise up, because like I'm going to keep saying, men get money to get women. So if they can't get women because we're holding ourselves to the highest value and sticking by and becoming emotionally intelligent, and we're doing our job within the divine feminine construct that was given to us, how we came here primordially before we were born, that's how the energies were supposed to work together. They will rise with us. We just have to focus on ourselves. We don't have to call them names. We don't have to do any of that. We hold ourselves to high standards as a collective. As women, we try to spread this to other women so that we can get on code and on point. All we have to do is love ourselves. Love ourselves, love ourselves. So that is the age of the divine feminine and what's going on. All we have to do, and you know, I have to say with spirituality, it's not hard necessarily once you learn the lesson. Like once you learn the lessons and take them on, everything else comes so much easier. So that is what's been going on, and those are the messages I received. So Gemini says, she's right. We need to be more selective. Go for the alpha. Hey, but you can go for beta and sigma male too. Like, but don't give it the ones you show they're not providing anything. Too many of them. The ones who expect to be taken care of, no. So a lot of men, especially in the Black community, are upset, and they always talk about the procreation. Oh, baby mom, baby mom. And they have their own healing to do, trust me. But they're not wrong on a evolutionary biological node and blueprint. Okay, they're not wrong. That is, and so Sophia's saying this is what we have to do. Now they were angry, they didn't say it right, they're focusing, you know what I mean? But they also, but you know, but on their side they could have been stepping up too, so that you know there was a place for that, right? So like instead of us just blaming each other, let's just focus on what we need to do. Both sides need to heal. Our healing is self-love and holding ourselves to high standards. The men will come. And I've seen it in my own life, all the guys I'm dating, guys who go a little crazy. And then I take a moment, instead of reacting angrily, I'm like, okay, you took that in this way, but I thought you would take it this way or this way. Why did you take it so personally? You know, I've seen, because I have a higher emotional intelligence and I can create the space versus just cutting those people off like I would have in the past, but just I now have this emotional strength to allow them the space and go, I see you reacted that way. and you're very angry, but like, I expected you to do this or thought you would do this. I don't know why you took it to be such a personal thing. You see the men when you allow that space with warmth, and I wasn't warm at that time, but warm before. You see, you can invite them in, and with emotional intelligence, if they mess up, you're not automatically cutting them off or automatically doing this. You have the ability to sort through your emotions with your firm boundaries and go, oh, I thought this would have happened. And so then you don't have that tension. But, I've seen people who I would have cut off, but I had that strength, like then go, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize, I did take it that way, versus, being able to trust that you didn't mean it that way. So that's what being warm, nurturing, creating that space, and being an emotionally intelligent. So that's what the divine feminine is. It's emotional intelligence. It's warmth. It's creating that. And when you're embodying this, there's no more tension. But you have to decide if you want to embody that. When my spirit guides told me this is where we need to go, and that's the connection I need to make, and I saw what that meant, and I did it. I just saw that relationships I have with every single person is better. There's no conflicts in the way that we're used to just knock down, drag out, because they come with this, I come with this, but that's how it's supposed to work. Conflicts get resolved. You know what I mean? And there's a high level of emotional strength, because sometimes if you're on my social media, some people come at me a little sideways, and just being able to handle it and not flying or getting triggered or flying off the mark. So that is part of what you get from embodying this. So I am going to get off right now because I want to eat and I have a lot of work to do. That 6-figure platform, that platform I do on real estate investing. Sorry, I didn't mean to say 6-figure, but the other platform I do, it does take a lot of work. So trying to not do as much. So any questions or comments, especially I've seen on Facebook, I had a few people join in, or any on YouTube before I head on out. And I hope, does that make sense? Do you get what I'm saying? Do you guys see yourselves looking into the divine feminine and going back to 0-point reset? Can you do it? Do you want to be the kind of person who embodies feminine energy, who takes the time before responding, and learning your boundaries and doing all that and embodying that? Is that something that you guys want to do? Can you leave a comment? I have to tell you, I love it. And I've just seen 1,000% increase in my interpersonal skills, relationships, and emotional strength and intelligence. I like to say you go from kid to princess to queen, right? And I've always looked at people like, I admire that. But now these are the skill sets that you learn and develop in this life, but you also are just more pleasant and less tense. And like literally, like your heart chakra opens, like when I connect these connections, especially when I'm dating, it's like this warm bubble of love, and it feels good for the people who are drawn into it. Hey, Facebook, you're there, Facebook, but I don't see any comments. So are you guys okay out there in Facebook world before I head on out? Any comments? I'm using StreamYard for the first time, so let's see. Okay. All right. Well, with that, I am going to get going. I hope this is helpful. If you just joined in, go ahead and go. Oh, I did get a comment. Yes, Gemini Love on YouTube says, yes, I'm interested in learning about the divine feminine. Enjoy your dinner. Have a good night. Yes. And I'm going to do it like the way that I did it is I've been, it's experience and it's being guided and channeled. So I'm more than happy. I have to share what I have because like I said, the femininity channels focus on like being pretty, but that's 1 part of 7 of our skills we need to learn. Okay. 1 part of 7. All right. There's a lot of depth to this and it goes pretty deep and it does change a lot of how we've been made to learn. And I want to show it because like I said, I am such a strong woman, but it's like, look, I'm letting people lead. It's okay. Relax. Be the one place you relax. Right? So it's okay to let someone else lead, even as an alpha. And it just works out so much better. So I'm going to get on going. Thank you guys so much for staying tuned. And yeah, I'm going to do more of these. Bye.